Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry for the noise in the background, but they are constructing across the street and they will be for quite a while. So today I wanted to go over my Roman Szmal paint collection, watercolor paint collection, obviously, right? So I had tried Roman Szmal on a whim. They had them on sale and I was on sale at Jackson's Art. And I was completely blown away by the price, for one thing, and the fact that they come in full pans, which normally you have to pay extra. This is just their standard. So when I combined the price with the fact I was getting a full pan, which will last me forever, I was like, oh gosh, I gotta try these. So I wasn't sure what to expect. But once I did try them, I was blown away. Not only at the price, these are artist grade paints, light fast tested, all that gloriousness. But then I was surprised at the performance and the colors. So what I had done is I had bought 2 pan sets. One I had bought off a friend. She had gotten it on a deal and realized she didn't need it. And then one I had got myself. And then I had grabbed some open stock because I wanted to like round out my whole Roman Szmal palette. So let's start with whatever's in this one. Oh, okay. So this first palette here, see, I've been using these. This is the Mona Amrani's palette. It is full to the brim, and these are the colors that came with it. We have some beautiful colors, but colors that I may not necessarily use all the time. A couple of these, you know, I'm like, oh, I might not use that. So I want to kind of make my own Roman Szmal palette, but to do that, I have to combine and make room. All right, next is the Aquarius. Now this one is not full to the brim like the other one. In fact, it is very open, which is nice because I have a ton of open stock to add. And when I had originally purchased this one, I'll show you the chart in my book here. I had added 3 automatically open stock. So I had added their cobalt teal, which is freaking luscious, their ocean blue, and their mineral violet. And then I went about and bought some more open stock, which is all of these little cutenesses over here. Other colors I wanted to try because they don't really have dots cards and stuff like that, but I wanted to see what I could pick up. Oops, where are we? So these are the other colors that I ended up adding. Now a lot of these are convenience greens, if you can't tell, because I am too lazy to make greens. It's true. So I had grabbed a couple other greens, including their olive green light and olive green deep, because I wanted to see what those were like. Honestly, the olive green deep is probably what I'd put in a palette and just wash it out. They do have different pigments than the olive green light, just to note. The sap green was absolutely glorious. Chromium green oxide I wasn't sold on. But then I got like their transparent turquoise, their Prussian blue, their shadow violet. Hello, look at that thing. And then I got some more pinks and purples because again, color mixing, yes, I can do it, but if I don't have to, I'm not gonna. I got their Potter's Pink to test it out. It's granulating, it's okay. Oh, and also I do have jets that fly by frequently. And then I wanted to try the quinacridone line of violets and pinks because I'm a quinacridone junkie. So I got their fuchsia, their violet, and this quin purple. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. So I wanted to take the colors from my open stock, from my set here, my Mona Amrani palette, and I wanted to create a single palette that I would actually use. So I'm going to kind of go through that with you. Now this is a little swatch card that came with the Hortus Botanicus, which is this one. So it really only came with these colors originally. And pretty much you have every color you need here to mix what you want. But like I said, I don't feel like mixing. So that's the problem we hit, don't we? So I decided that I was going to use this palette here and make myself my own floral palette. And then anything I don't use will come back and be put in here as like my spare Roman Szmal set. So yeah, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about yellows. Now this set here came with a white. I'm not going to include a white. Rarely do I break out the white. If I want to lighten a color, I just add water. And PW6 is just so opaque, and I like my paints to stay transparent. So the white will be staying in the spares. That said, when it comes to yellows, I do love this Aquarius yellow that came with my botanical set, but I also really liked the one I can never say, the Benzie yellow is what we're calling it. And then when it came to the nickel azo yellow versus the quinacridone gold, I'm actually going to lean towards the quinacridone gold. And then of course they both sets came with a permanent yellow. Nothing you can do. When you buy these curated sets, you're gonna get dupes. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna kind of go through and pick out the colors I like from my old palette here, this bigger one, and then kind of get everything in order. The only thing I have to be careful of is these ones here, unlike the ones I got open stock where I, with my chicken scratch, wrote the names on. I don't have names on these, so I have to be extra careful, but I will be placing them in this palette. So I gotta, you know, watercolor palettes are not friendly to nails, if anyone's curious. But I need to pop these all open and kind of create one little thing. And one thing I do want to note is, like, a lot of these colors I may pop out later and put in my studio palette. I have a really cute palette that takes both tube paint and you can put your pans, like, so for brands like Roman Szmal that don't come in tubes, you still have a place to put your pans. But I am not quite ready to do that, so I wanted to get my Roman Szmal together, and then we could swatch it all out. I'll probably use the back of this. Why not reuse the paper, right? And then that way we can see everything that is in my palette. Okay, I have combined all my colors and filled the whole palette, so that makes 28 full pans. Oops, gonna have to tighten those a bit. So it's actually not a huge palette, which makes it nice. And then the colors I picked are a mixture of convenience colors, some primaries, some mixing colors I need. And yeah, I am a full believer that it's okay to buy convenience colors, because you know what? I don't want to have to sit there and mix greens all the time. So we are going to swatch them together. Just take a little spritzer, spritz your palette, spritz your hand. That's why I moved my sketchbook. Now with Roman Szmal, you really don't have to wet them a ton to get your paints ready and activated, because honestly they re-wet really easily. That said, it's always nice to have a little bit of a starting point. So what I'm going to do now is we are going to swatch the colors. I will tell you about the color and the pigment as we swatch. I'm going to get you down at a better angle as well so you can see what I'm doing. And then maybe I'll even put in some background music if I'm feeling super editor worthy. We'll see. But yeah, let's get swatching and see these pretty colors. I do have, the stamp I used is just this rectangle from Arit's stamp collection. And then I've put the pigment in the box, and you're probably like, why would you do that? I usually do that, one, so I can check transparency, but two, it's there. I can always see it through the colors. If you, however, find yourself squinting, then you can make yours more out. I left this open because I wanted to paint something right there. All right, let's get swatching. Okay, the first one I have is Aquarius yellow. And I am swatching on my Etcher cold pressed 100% cotton sketchbook. Oh gosh, can't remember what size this is, but it's a smaller one. And this is PY 168. And then I am also using my silver black velvet number 8 round. I really do like the silver black velvet brushes. Okay, next we have the, I like to shorten the name to Ben's, Ben's yellow, PY 154. Yes, I'm purposely going out of the lines. Watercolor should be sloppy. Okay, then I chose quinacridone gold. Get that one a little more wet. That's PY 150 and PO 48. I do apologize for the sniffles. It's allergy season. Not much I can do about it, but either way, the apology is there. Then I have my Ben's orange, PO 36. It's not a luscious orange. And then I've got permanent red. I definitely have to tighten those. PR 170. Ooh, I love that color. Permanent alizarin crimson, PR 176. Isn't that a beautiful color? In fact, I can zoom you guys in even more. There we go. Then I have my quinacridone magenta, PR 122. Oh, I love that color. Okay. Then we have quinacridone pink, PR 122. Quinacridone violet. Yes, I like my quinacridones. PV 19. Look at that color though. Oh, it's so beautiful. So juicy. Okay, quinacridone purple. PV 55. Like I said, I got my convenience mixes. You can make pinks, you can make purples. I just don't want to. Dioxazine violet, PV 37. One of my favorite colors of all time. Now mineral violet. This is PV 29 and PV 19. It is a gorgeous color. It's dark, but that PB 29 in there, oh, it's beautiful. Okay, then we have cobalt blue, PB 28. Looks like I had a little green on the top of that one. It's probably mixing. Then we have phthalo blue red shade. So this is PB 15-6. Look at that color. Oh, I love it. Then I have the phthalo blue green shade, which is PB 15-3. Honestly, I love that blue. It is so pretty. And then I have Prussian blue, PB 29. Sap green, PY 150 and PG 7. Isn't that a beautiful sap green? I think it's lovely. And I have their Hooker's green, PY 150, PB 27. It's really pretty green as well. And then I included the olive green deep. This is PY 150, PBK 9, PG17, and PBR25. I know, it's quite a mouthful. It's a lovely olive color though. I love it. Okay, and then Aquarius green, which is becoming one of my favorites. PY150, PBR25, and PB29. It can be dark, it can be light. It's a luscious green. Okay, then I have ocean blue, PBR24 and PB15-3. Again, just a convenience color, as are all of my greens. Then I have indigo hue. This is such a pretty color. PB60 and PBK7. Transparent turquoise, PB15-3 and PG7. And I have the Blue Ridge Burnt Sienna, which is PBR7. Isn't that a gorgeous color? I mean, it instantly makes me think of the desert, but I love it, and it'll be great for mixing. I have Sepia, PBR7 and PBK9. Okay, and then I've got my Payne's Gray, PBK9, PB27, and PR264. I love the way their Payne's Gray looks. Then I decided to include their neutral tint. So that has PB60, PBK6, and PB19. I really like it. It's a nice, cool color. And it's not as blue as the Payne's Gray. Okay, then I included the Shadow Violet Light, purely out of fun. PB36, PB29, PR176. This is a granulating color. You'll have so many things popping up once it dries. Of course, I'm swatching my paints wet to dry. So most people may do wet on wet or do a combo of both, but when I paint wet to dry. Rarely do I do wet on wet. So I swatch my colors the way I paint, because this is how they're going to show up in my sketchbook. And I also try to swatch on the same type of paper I paint on, so I can get the feel of how they're going to look. Because paper in watercolor, unfortunately, is one of the more important factors than even the paint and the brush itself. So I always recommend swatching on the paper you tend to paint on, and then swatching in the technique that you typically use. So these are my colors right now. Of course, watercolors when wet are totally different when dry. So what I'm going to do is pause, let these dry, and then we'll come back and I'll show you, once this is dried up, my colors. Okay, everything is all dry. I did a little, I guess we'll call it a lilac. I was honestly just painting random, and then I decided to make it look like it was blowing away in the wind. But I was just playing with a mixture of these paints here, and then I was using the Aquarius green because I absolutely love it. So yeah, here is my Roman Szmal palette. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it was combining 2 sets plus open stock that I've purchased to kind of create a palette that I would enjoy using. Mostly for florals. That tends to be where I go. Occasionally I'll be random and branch out, but most of the time I stick to my florals. So I think this palette will be really fun. I have a good mix of what I need if I want to go ahead and mix other colors. So I've got my 2 yellows, and then I also have my alizarin crimson, but magenta as well, because magenta often mixes a better purple than my alizarin crimson. And then when it comes to blues, I made sure to give myself a few different blues, 1 for mixing, 2 purely out of fun. So It just depends. Like my cobalt blue is a granulating color. I love to use that when I'm going for super loose florals. And then I have, of course, my Payne's Gray, which is always helpful when you're mixing. And Shadow Violet, like I said, was just for fun. But look at that color when it's dry. Can you see the different colors in there? I hope the camera's picking it up. But yeah, and then of course I have my 2 browns. So I think this will be a fun little palette to play with. It'll cover me for all of the seasons as well. Autumn, I've got my autumnal colors already here. And then what I don't have, I can mix. But the whole point was I wanted a palette truly that I didn't have to constantly mix colors, because I am not a mixer. I could be, but I don't want to. So I typically will go with a palette that has a lot of convenience colors so that I can get the colors I want without having to mix. So I've got my bright greens, my olivey greens, and I don't have to sit there and make them. That said, I always make sure to include in my palette colors to create mixes, just in case there's that one time where I'm like, I need a different color. But half the time I'll be lightening these up just with water. You don't need white. That's why there's no white in my palette. I'll just lighten them with water, and once you water them down, they become even lighter. But really the only color that I would be missing is like a peachy color, and that's what I would just make myself, kind of combining a little bit of my orange and yellow and watering it down to create the effect of a peach color. In fact, I could even work with my permanent red as well. But yeah, overall, this is just a personal preference palette, and by no means am I saying you should make this palette for yourself. Everyone should make a palette that is unique to them and their thing. Like, we all have our personal preferences, and there's going to be tons of watercolor artists who have their palette and they can share their colors, but that may not jive with your style or what you prefer. You might enjoy mixing it. A lot of people find it very therapeutic. I just find it tiresome. I'm totally lazy, but yeah, it's just about what you prefer and how you like. Could you get away with half of these? For sure. But Roman Szmal is so incredibly affordable for being full pans of paint that are artist grade and very nice. And they have great light fast ratings, by the way. Considering the price tag on these and the fact that they go on sale on Jackson's like all the time, you can make your own custom Roman Szmal palette or buy a pre-made one and kind of add colors to it. And that's what I recommend. Go with a curated palette, see if you like it, get a feel for the colors, add more colors, and then do what I did. Make your own palette. 28 colors is more than enough. It's not the biggest palette I've ever made though. I have a 36 color one, but you don't really need loads of colors. So thanks for hanging out with me as I built my custom Roman Szmal palette. It was fun, and now I can't wait to start painting with it. Most likely, Roman Szmal will be what you see on my channel, this palette specifically. However, I do plan to create my studio palette still using a combination of, the many tubes and full pans and half pans of paints I've collected as well, because I want everyone to get some love. But Roman Szmal and Schminke are my top paints, and unfortunately I have yet to decide how I want to make my Schminke palette. So Roman Szmal for now. But thank you for hanging out with me on my journey, and until next time, take care. Bye now.